It is a problem. And I'm privileged enough to do a lot of work for your E&O companies. So I get to see a lot of reports. Now, most of them I see are a problem. Otherwise, I wouldn't be seeing them. So I see a lot of bad stuff, but there's some areas that are pretty consistently problematic. So we're going to talk about those mostly during this presentation. What are the areas that are most problematic? Well, number one is spelling. One missing letter can make a big difference. A simple missing letter is a huge difference for thinking thick tonight. Okay? You know, just missing a simple G is a problem. I bet a lot of you didn't see it right away because we see what we want to see. And especially if we wrote it, you see what you think you wrote. So make sure you're using, turn spell check on, turn on grammar check. If your software doesn't have it, junk it and get one that does. Because if it doesn't have spell or grammar check, it's garbage. Everything should have that. Look for the little squiggly red line under the words. Okay, that means it's probably not spelled correctly. Also understand that for some reason, some spell checks don't look at photo captions. Everybody notice that? I don't know why. I don't get it. But some spell checks don't look at photo captions. So I see some very interesting photo captions. So, you know, make sure you're looking at spelling. I used to be able to get my wife to read my reports. And it was great because, you know, it's a different person because I would read through things and miss the defects because I was too close to it. I wrote it. So it was hard to see the misspellings. You know, of course, I'm looking for the green squiggly line and the red squiggly line and so on. But other times you can write stuff and it's a real word and it could work. It's just the wrong one. So it's a problem. So spelling, big deal. Unreadable reports. That's very true. I see some of them. I'm looking through it. I'm like, what the hell is this? It's like whoever wrote it, you know, just didn't read it. They maybe hit the drop-down menus or something and didn't even look at it afterward, didn't proofread it, at least spot check it. Here's a photo caption. Everybody wants this in their house, right? That's a scan from the report. That's the photo caption from a report. Obviously, it's misspelled. So it affects your credibility as an inspector to have this kind of stuff in a report. Now, remember, the report is your work product. That's what lives on forever. You know, if your inspection becomes a claim or something happens, that's what everybody's looking at. Now, wouldn't that be embarrassing to look at this? Because usually where there's one, there's many. So look closely at your reports. Now, proper transfer of information. This is where photographs really help. If I'm reading just the sign right here, manager special is tasty ass crackers. They must be good, right? Hey, I'm in. I like a tasty ass cracker just like everybody else. But if you look at the picture, oh, they mean assorted crackers. Now I get it. So a photograph can help transfer information properly to your clients where, you know, what you say in the text really doesn't do it. And avoid abbreviations in your report because sometimes they don't understand. You know, I know what you mean, like, you know, BUR. I know you mean built up roof. The clients don't know. How about RTU? I know you mean rooftop unit. Client doesn't know. So avoid abbreviations. You want to spell out what you're talking about, because a lot of your clients are laypersons for the most part. That's why they hire us to inspect the house, because they don't know all this stuff. So we have to talk to our clients in the report as laypersons, not like one inspector talking to another. You know, I could say like 3 words and you'd know exactly what I mean. But the clients don't understand that, and a picture can really help. You know, it's digital photos are fabulous. I remember when, isn't that funny? I sound like my father. And when we didn't have digital photos, and getting photos in reports, for those of us that did it, was a pain in the neck, because we had to glue up, you know, photo prints and make our own caption pages and so on. It was a pain in the neck. Most of us only did it for commercial inspections. And a house report was a simple letter. It was 4 or 5 page letter. Things have changed significantly. Now, too many pictures can be problematic too. I've seen some home inspection reports where the whole report is pictures. It's just pictures and videos. Okay, that's kind of cool, but you still have to have information in the report. You still got to tell me what's wrong. And what should I do? That's the rest of it, right? We need to provide our clients with a recommendation. What should they do? What type of professional should they call? Not by name, you know, not the person, but a plumber or a HVAC or whoever. We need to give them some direction. That's part of the job, is what professional should they call to figure out what to do with whatever defect you're looking at. And then odd statements. It just, you know, you can interpret that many different ways. Statements that can be interpreted many different ways should not be used in a report, because it becomes problematic. You don't know how that person is going to interpret that phrase. So this is Schrodinger's dumpster. I mean, ever in school did you go to Schrodinger's cats? And yeah, okay. So anyway, it's an odd statement. It could be interpreted many different ways. Now, this is one of my favorites. This person complained to the Easy Disposable Grill Company because they went on a picnic and there's no damn food in the box. The picture has food, and she's got 4 of them in the freezer. Look at the end of it. I got 4 more at home in the freezer. This person relied upon the photograph right here, which I know somewhere in the fine print it says food not included. It's somewhere there. But the person looked at the photograph, you know, and, hey, good deal. Comes with the kebab, all ready to go. So the person misinterpreted the photograph and understood that this thing was not only an instant grill, disposable instant grill, but also contained food. I don't think so. I know. You got to think, where did you buy that? You know, it was probably in the seasonal aisle, along with the lawn chairs and that stuff. So, what's that? Probably. Yeah, who knows? I've never seen it, so maybe. I don't know. But look it. It's disposable, means no mess, lights with a match, and cooks for up to an hour and a half. Look at that. Perfect for all-in-one barbecue. I know somewhere here it said, you know, food for illustrative purposes only or something like that. So it just goes to show you, you've got to be very specific. You've got to explain things very fully and at about a 6th grade level in your report. Okay? It's important. We need to be really explain things so that your grandmother could have understood it. So basic level, you know, Don't assume that people understand anything about construction, because most likely they understand very little. That's why they're hiring you to come out and do the inspection. It's a good thing. It's why we have worked. So it's important to understand that. But this was just pretty funny. Now, interesting name for a home inspection company. This is a company out of Florida. And I bet he gets about 50 hits on his website every time I do a seminar. It's pretty funny. But this, I don't know as I would, if I was an insurance company, I don't know, this would be one of those, 6 weeks later, I'd write the letter. So I think the name is going to make people think that nothing is missed, right? Well, nothing. So what does that include? I would think everything, right? Even the little hole in the window screen where the little bug comes in. And it could be anything. So, good for you if you want to name your business that. But I would think of a different name, I think. I'm just surprised if he gets E&O insurance. What's that? Yeah, I think that it should have, where nothing missed, there should be the asterisk and then the fine print right on the car. Yeah, I know. Almost nothing missed. Yeah, that's a good one. So anyway, interesting name. If you choose, I've seen some other names that are pretty interesting for home inspection companies, but be careful because people will read it literally and think that it really means that. All right, confusing matrices in reports. I know this one hurts just to look at it. And this was a popular form and or a template for reporting, and it's got all these columns, and I understand the thought process for it. The creator was thinking, I can get a lot of information in a small space for my client, and a lot of the information is required information, and I can have it here. We've got all these different letters here. I'm like, what the heck is all that? Well, down here, it's yes and no. Okay, yes, no. Functional, marginal, poor, deficiency. Functional, marginal, poor, deficient. Isn't poor and deficiency like the same thing? Repair or replace, inspected, it's IN, but NI, the antithesis, is not inspected. NP not present. Summary, yes for your information. SH is safety spelled wrong. PL is punch list. What's a punch list item? Is that a defect or is it poor? And then we have delayed maintenance. Does that mean the client can delay it or the occupant has been delaying it? What does it mean? I don't know. So I'm looking at this thing going, what the heck does this mean? The first thing I see is in the inspected column, nothing was inspected. That's my interpretation, because nothing is bulleted. So that means nothing was inspected. However, the exterior walls are functional. The gable walls are functional. The entry door is FN, O, and M. Whoops, go back there, get out of there. It's FN and M. What does M mean? Marginal. So functional and marginal, which I guess it could be. It could still work. It opens and closes, but it's marginal because maybe it's got like a hole in it. I would expect that there's text down below this that explains some of these things. And then we got, is the glass in the windows foggy or discolored? Yes. Okay, but is that a defect? Is that a repair or replace? I didn't inspect it, but I'm pretty sure it's a yes. I'm picking on it, but I mean, come on. if you're going to use the matrix, you have to fill in the bullets if you're going to use it. Here we have garage doors and automatic operators. SH. Oh, that's for safety, spelled wrong. What's this one? Condition of the garage door. Functional. Decks. Repair or replace. I mean, it goes on and on. I don't want to keep picking on it, but as a user of an inspection report, this is meaningless to me. It doesn't give me any useful information. If I'm buying a home inspection report for a house, what do I want to use your report for? I want to know what's wrong, and then what am I going to do? I'm going to use it to negotiate. That's not what it was designed for, but you know that's what it gets used for every time. People renegotiate the deal based upon the home inspection. Happens all the time. So, okay, whatever. That's fine with me, as long as they hire us to do the work. So this just doesn't seem to help me any. And if you're not going to use it correctly, it's not going to work anyway. How could you not inspect anything and come up with stuff wrong? So I think it could more get you in trouble. If some plaintiff's attorney is looking at this thing, he's going to tear your ass up with this thing. Right? Exactly. That's what's going to happen. All right. Now this one. Weaselly language where you're trying to weasel out of responsibility for something that you looked at that you shouldn't have. That's basically what this is. This is regarding outbuildings. So when we book an inspection, we ask, is there a guest house? Is there an ADU, an additional dwelling unit? Is there a cabana? If it's in horse country, is there stables? And do you want these inspected? Because I'll usually know, because I already looked at the property in Realtor.com or whatever, and I've seen an overview, so I know what's there already. And if there's multiple buildings, we'll ask people if they want them inspected because it's more money. We're happy to do it. The pool, sure, that's $450 extra. I love doing pools. And we'll do the same thing for cabanas and so on. So, we know what's there. And if you don't want to pay for having it inspected, we'll note that, yes, there was a cabana, and per your direction, was not inspected. We're very firm. We either do it, you're either pregnant or you're not. There is no in between, which is what this is trying to do. So outbuildings are normally not a part of a home inspection. It was not inspected, done. However, this guy, any inspection of outbuilding, well, what the hell? Are you doing it or not? Parenthetically, should there be one on site, is strictly for the convenience of the client. What does that mean? A thorough inspection is not included nor accomplished with this inspection. Any comments concerning an outbuilding are strictly for your information and should not be considered part of the. No, it's part of the inspection. If you mention it in the report, it's part of the inspection. So you either get paid for it or you don't. If you don't get paid, don't do it. Or if you want to inspect it for no pay, then go for it. But this isn't going to work. It's not going to get you out of trouble if something occurs. Should there be deficiencies identified that this guy went on, I finally stopped it. I was like, that's enough. I'll just scan this right here. It went on and on. Like, this is stupid. You don't inspect it or you do. And if you choose to do it, included, that's fine. But this kind of wishy-washy stuff is not going to or eliminate your liability for inspecting something that you didn't have to. Does that make sense? Okay. You don't have to look at outbuildings. You charge extra for them? Yeah. Why should you do it for free? How about if there's a second garage? Charge more. Right. The primary garage is included. But if there's a second one, that's additional. But
if there's power to it, you got to inspect it.
If there's power to it?
If there's power to it from the main building, it's not on its own separate meter. If the power from the outbuilding comes from the primary structure,
Well, they're
you have
always
to
going to come
inspect it.
from it. And what do you base that on?
The standards of practice.
Eh, I don't know.
Because if a outbuilding has its own meter, it's its own charge. But if the outbuilding has its power coming from
Yeah.
the main building, you have to inspect it because it has a panel that is part of the electrical system.
Yeah, but it's a separate building. Yeah, that's a good point. That's another day's debate. We could spend 20 minutes on that one. So, but good point. Thank you. All right. Now, how about this one? Now, this one's pretty funny. This is stuff in the report. This happened to be a case that I worked on. I was defense, and this was the plaintiff's expert, wrote this report. And I read this and went, oh, yeah. So, inspector found rafter in garage to have been confirmed to have mold fungus called cereotystis, which is a deadly disease that causes oak tree to go into defense and dry up and die. How many have oak trees in their house? You got one? Good for you. Wow, damn. That's one hell of a house.
Was there a mold report? Was there mold?
Well, here, hang on. Inspector does not find any strong evidence that the mold is dangerous to human, but you know what? It needs to be removed anyway. Please note, the lab result will follow as confirmation. So I'm like, so what do you got, like electron microscope eye or something, where you were able to determine the species of mold with the naked eye? Really? And it's an oak tree mold. So what? There's no oak in houses. It's like pine or spruce. I know. What is this? I'm just like, I'm looking, I said, I've never heard of such a thing.
That causes an oak tree to go into, should be oak tree.
Well, that aside, the whole freaking paragraph is ridiculous. How many here can tell me the type of mold by just looking at it? Okay. No. That'll work, right? Oh, what the hell? I mean, this is stupid. So, then lab follow-up? Really? Why even bother when you can tell me by looking at it? I mean, jeez, it was crazy. So, when you see this kind of, and I was actually testified in an arbitration with this guy sitting across the table. I'm just like, really? And other stuff came up too. It was interesting. The result for the inspector, of course, zero judgment. But just, big waste of many days. So it was interesting. I'd never even thought of anything like this before. It was pretty interesting. Okay, this is a photo caption. So this is actual scan from a friggin' report. And it says the electrical ground rod is lactated close to the garage, penetrating through the asphalt. Use caution when drinking in this area. Oh my God. Okay, I think I can decipher it. I sat there looking at it. I think I know what he meant. The electrical ground rod is located close to the garage, penetrating through the asphalt. Use caution when driving in this area. Like it could poke through your tire. Don't worry about tripping over it, falling, but it might hurt your damn tire. So I know. I'm in my office and I'm reading this, and I laughed for 3 days about this. My wife would come in and, what's so funny? I said, I'm laughing at this again. I can't stop. So Oh, God. I don't know. It was pretty funny. So anyway, obviously the rod should not be subject to damage. It needs to be located, closer to the building or around the corner or somewhere where it's not going to cause damage and be a trip hazard or a tire hazard. But the photo caption, that's just embarrassing. I mean, come on, you got to read your stuff. This is the guy that tells me that I do my, get my reports done on site. Like, do you read them? I mean, great if you could do that, but you got to read it before you hand it to people or email it or whatever you do. You got to look at it. Just think of the credibility factor. If you get a claim, and maybe this is the report that they're using as evidence in the courtroom, and the plaintiff's attorney puts this up on a big screen for the whole jury to see. So, I mean, how are you going to look? Really? Because usually when there's one like this, there's many. So this is what they're talking about, the unreadable report. This is the kind of stuff, you hit it right on the head. This is the big deal, is make sure that you write a report that people can read. Also make sure that you're clearly recording and documenting inaccessible areas. Bob?
Or inaccessible components.
Or inaccessible components, exactly. And I was just going to say, in these two photographs, especially the one to the left here, I'm unable to see the garage, to inspect the garage. There may be hidden damage. I'm also unable to inspect, including but not limited to, electric panel, vehicle door, hardware, concrete slab, other electric door controls, there could be plumbing, whatever else. And hidden damage may exist. That's true. There could be hidden damage in both of these. So this one, I'm standing next to the furnace. That's an old furnace right there. There's a flue pipe. And the remainder of the garage is full of stuff, including up in the rafters. So multiple pictures, disclaim anything that's in those areas and all the different components that you can think of and systems. Plus, I say hidden damage may exist. Now, I know real estate agents don't like that. I don't care. I'm still saying it. Hidden damage may exist because it's true. Bob?
Under sinks.
Under sinks, full of stuff all the time. I take pictures of every under sink, and it lives in the file. And I note in the report the the cabinet space under most sinks or all sinks or whatever were full of products and personal items, and it was not fully visible for inspection. So all that stuff. Attics, basements, a lot of them are unusually full of storage now, especially when people are moving. They got boxes stacked up in the garage. They got boxes stacked up in the attic. All kinds of stuff, because they're moving. It's normal.
All these services to come back, people have food. Took all this stuff.
We do. We offer to come back, and we have a return fee, and we tell people in the report that the return fee is $300 or whatever it is. We tell them right in the report. We're happy to come back once the area is cleared to inspect the area where the branch was removed from the tree or from the roof or whatever, both actually, and inspect it. We tell them the fee, so they can make up their mind if they want to do it. It's up to them. Okay, people come up with unique stuff, so they're trying to prevent people from going in the trailer. I guess it's kind of a shed, because they had pulled the wheels, the tires off of it and the wheels, and it was up on blocks. And it says, caution, trailer contains a disease with no cure. Ha ha ha, that's funny. But I'm going to disclaim this. I'm going to write in the report, there was a trailer on site, unknown use, And no part of the trailer was inspected. Inquire with the seller regarding, the use of the trailer, if it is to convey and blah, blah, blah. We don't know anything about it. Make sense? I'm still gonna note it. Because if I don't say anything, people might think I inspected it. And I don't want them to think that. I'm gonna be very clear in the report that I didn't do anything with that, except take a picture. Another one. Misidentifying components in the report. The home is serviced by polybutylene waste piping. Huh. I'd never seen that. Yeah, maybe, yeah. So polybutylene waste plumbing lines, with the exception of cast iron plumbing that penetrates the foundation wall. Well, the cast iron's correct, but the other stuff, that's ABS. That's actually acrylonitrile butadiene styrene, not polybutylene. So if you don't know what a material is, if you don't know the exact name, just say plastic. Or just say metal. What? You could say black plastic, but some ABS is gray.
Black pipe.
Oh, black pipe? Okay, sure. Or don't say anything. I don't know. We're supposed to identify the type of material. Plastic is generic enough. It's okay to say plastic.
Get clarification on that? On that statement he just made, that plastic is sufficient in the state of Maryland?
For drain pipes? Why not? It's gonna be PVC,
Yeah, as identification,
ABS,
as identification.
Plastic.
right.
And I think that when the I can't speak specifically, but I think it just says describe the material of the pipe. So if in your opinion, you think plastic is sufficient, you could put that. I'm not saying that that's what you should say. I think most of us can pretty much distinguish PVC from ABS.
You should be.
And
able
I would
to.
be as specific as possible. I don't know that plastic would be wrong, but
correct.
it depends. If you go to court and the lawyer's hammering you saying, well, you should know the difference.
Well, I tell you what, it's better to say plastic than to call it something wrong.
Yeah, you want to be like, you want to be more vague than wrong.
Yeah, well, the reason I bring it up is because Sean specifically told us that it was being interpreted as not sufficient to simply say plastic. You had to say what type of
I
plastic.
don't recall
not aware of
exactly
that?
what we put on there. It'll be out next month.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I wonder, I
that's a
wonder
little,
if Anatol's in the remote audience, maybe he has something. But yeah, okay. I'm sorry for the interruption. Go ahead.
okay. All right. This one's funny because the inspector admits pretty much in the paragraph that he's not licensed to do this. So he says, throughout the crawl space, there is evidence of significant termite activity. So identifying the infestation. It is recommended to consult a licensed pest control technician to determine severity of the infestation and related damages. Well, actually, it needs to be a licensed pest control technician to identify the infestation too. The actual, in WDO, you have to be licensed. And you can get a cease and desist letter for doing this from the pest control board if you're not licensed. And I know one inspector who got a cease and desist letter 3 times and kept doing it, and they fined him $10,000. And they got it. They chased him, and they got it. He was just adamant. He's like, "No, I don't care." One of those guys.
In what state was that?
That was California. Yeah, but you have licensed pest control here, right? Yeah. And if you read the Pest Control Act, if you're not licensed, you're not supposed to be identifying the WDO type, what is it, or what to do, or make any or treatment. That's an operator's license. Yeah. I say wood destroying organism. That's very generic. That's okay. If you want to say bug, that's all right. But what if there's fungus too? I know. So I just tell them, get a pest control structural pest control inspector and figure out what to do and follow their direction. Oh, you certainly want to say that there's damage. Yeah. The joists. And I recommend, I also tell people that you're probably going to need a general contractor or framing contractor to make the corrections. To go through the crawl, like here, the crawl space, and determine what needs to be replaced. Yeah.
Verbal consultations and what we're talking about here, is it okay to say the word termite when you're on a house, do you think? Cause like.
Okay, everybody, I'm on film. What do you think I'm gonna say?
Okay, gotcha.
Of course not. I don't care if it's verbal or in writing. You're not allowed to do it if you're not licensed.
Myself, cause I'm like, I've seen the mud tracks. and
I know we know
I've
what
seen-
it is.
I've
We've
seen
seen it enough,
sawdust,
but are you licensed pest control inspector?
so
then don't
I
do
need
it.
to stop saying it.
Yeah, don't do it. All right, other common problems. I have this big, long list of things. Internal inconsistency. Say one thing here, something else over here. We didn't inspect it here. Oh, we looked at it over here. So make sure you're consistent in the report. Get a contract. And always get the contract signed before you go to the inspection. We use a service called EverSign, kind of like DocuSign. The same day we book the inspection, we send the contract. And we tell our clients we need it back by whatever date, which is always a day before the inspection. And if we don't have the contract back before the inspection, client gets an email that we have to have the signed contract back or the inspector isn't showing up. A little nicer than that, but you know, I don't go without a signed contract because as soon as I leave my house and I'm driving to the job, that's part of the inspection. When I get there and park, that's part of the inspection. I don't want to wait for somebody on site to sign the contract. We get it signed and it's in the file in our office before we even go. We get it done. And many times we get paid before we go too. We tell them, you know, we take cash, check, any kind of credit or debit card. We don't care, whatever. Inspectors don't communicate properly. This is very common. Inspectors don't call people back. They get phone calls with questions and don't call them back. This happens all the time. I have real estate agents that will call me sometimes. Say, well, I called so-and-so and he hasn't called me back. Do you think he can tell me what this means? Like, really? All right, read it to me or, you know, send me the report. I'll take a look at it. Clients don't understand the report. That's a big one. It needs to be clear, and we need to give people clear direction as to what to do. We need to recommend action. Now, this is something that some people don't think we should be doing, but I do. If it's a significant issue, safety, you know, or whatever, I recommend that people have the expert come out and look prior to the end of their inspection contingency period. You want to have that roofer come out now so that you understand the scope of repair that's necessary and options for repair or replacement and the costs. You want to know now before you make a decision. So to do that, you're going to have to get the expert out now rather than later after you move in. Because sometimes people will wait, they move in and call the roofer and it's a new roof. It's, you know, $18,000. They're like, oh my God, you know, I didn't know it was going to be that much. So I make sure I tell people in the report that we recommend that you contact the roofer prior to the end of your inspection contingency period. That's per the contract. Have a roofer, whoever it is, come out now to determine what needs to be done and the cost. You guys doing that? Most of you? Okay. That's nothing new. Excessive use of boilerplate is one I see a lot. Where every component, every system, every component, get an expert to look at it. Okay, that's a little excessive. I also see the word appears in like every comment. Okay, it's a visual inspection. It's pretty clear that everything appears. Now, to use it to say you're not quite sure, like it appears to be every once in a while, that's okay. But you don't want to have appears, like appears serviceable in every single line. That's a little excessive. Speaking right English. We've seen some reports that are not quite English. So make sure, or whatever language you agreed upon with the client. Stick to your scope of licensure. That's, pest control. Don't practice engineering without a license. I've seen reports that say the house was structurally sound. Like, oh, don't say that. That implies that you inspected design, that you performed engineering. So that's not something that a home inspector should be saying in a report. Failure to relay magnitude of the defect is a very common problem. When something is a significant defect, whether safety and or cost, we should be telling our clients, this is a significant cost defect, or this is a significant bodily injury type of a defect, like a deck that's fallen off the building. Anybody ever seen it? The nails are extruding. Okay. How many carry caution tape in their car? How many have used it? Yes, cuidado, peligro. Okay, all the different languages. So the yellow tape, I've used it. I've taped off a deck right at the sliding glass door, taken a picture and left notes, called the listing agent, tell the homeowners do not use the deck because the ledger was like this far from the house. And it was nailed. It was an old nail-on, from the 70s or whatever deck, but it was extruding. It was rotating away from the house. So I put the caution tape up, took pictures. Here's what I did. The pictures went in the report. I called the listing agent, left a note for the homeowners because nobody was there, and told them, don't use the deck. Now, they probably came home and tore off I don't care. I have pictures of what I did. So I did the best that I could. I've turned off furnaces because they're covered with soot, carbon monoxide machines. So I turned off the fuel gas. It's pretty rare. In 38 years of doing this, I think I've turned off 2 furnaces, 1 water heater, and I've caution taped 4 or 5 decks. Not a whole lot. Yeah. Yes, garage door openers. That's a good one. I've done 1 or 2. Yep, that's true. I forgot about those. So, you just never know. Garage door openers is another one. If you think it's an imminent hazard and somebody living in the house could be injured, you want to tell them. You want to make sure that you warn people right away. More of the list. Past 3 or 4 years, we've been getting calls for a walk and talk inspection. A walk and talk inspection. So it's problematic, I think. What's that? It's not a home inspection. It's more a consultation, right? It's a consultation. Now, here's something that's important, though, you got to consider is that consultation covered by your E&O? Because they only cover you for home inspection. So it might not be covered. Just something to keep in mind. But it's a consultation. Typically, it's not in writing. So I don't know. Has anybody done them? Yeah. Cool. Yeah. No, it's not a home inspection because it doesn't meet the standard practice. It's got to be in writing to be an SOP inspection. So just something to think about. I know a lot of us have done these, but you got to think about, do I have coverage? What if I break something? What if I break something while I'm there? So make sure you have coverage. It's not a home inspection. So E&O, some of them will cover it. They specifically sell or say in the policy endorsements that they will cover it. So just a question. You might want to find out. I've had people ask me, do you mind if I record the inspection with their camera or with their phone? You know what? I'm fine with that because I know I'm not going to, pretty confident I'm not going to say something stupid. Pretty confident. And I'd rather it be recorded so there's no question about what I said. So I'm usually I'm cool with that. Up to you guys. If you're not comfortable, then you can say no. But, for me, I don't care.
I've heard of a couple inspectors actually have body cameras.
Yeah, some inspectors have body cams now, and for a reason, because they get accused of breaking things, they get accused of stealing things, so they have a body cam that records everything. Interactions with the client, because the client will say, you didn't tell me. And it's actually recorded on the camera. Now, the problem with the cameras is that's a lot of backup you're going to need, because video's big files, especially when they're 3 hours long. So that's a lot of film, or a lot of footage to back up. And there's no SOP over walk and talk that I know of. And lastly, remember that you can get sued for anything. Anything. You never know where it's going to come from.
I think it's important to remember that there are a lot of cameras in homes.
Lots of cameras in homes. Mhm. Well, yeah. Nowadays, you have to expect that you're on camera as soon as you leave the house. So, you need to perform as such. Thank God in the 70s, there were no cameras around. Because we did stuff that definitely was not appropriate. So but today, there's cameras all over the place, which is good, because they catch people with it. But just you need to behave appropriately in people's houses. And many times during the inspection, the seller is listening. Yeah, they're listening. I know they're not supposed to, but a lot of times they're listening to what you're saying. You've unplugged it?
People kept making a comment that.
Oh, that's funny. Comment was that had to unplug the Alexis because the people kept talking back and making comments about it. So yeah, that's kind of funny. I haven't heard of that one. All right, some more comments. Now this inspector used a report. Instead of starting with a fresh, clean template for the report, he used a report from the previous day and modified it for the home he's inspecting today. So yesterday's report, I don't know, maybe he's saving money on using the report or something. I don't know. Anyway, attic, green, we have the green text, which usually means stuff is good. Green text. It should be noted that the home's roof support framing system viewed from within the attic revealed no visual evidence of stress or failure. And blah, blah, blah. I don't have to read the whole thing. However, the inspector says attic not inspected. Comments about attic blocked. Inspect when seller's items removed. And the whole picture, the light was in the way, but there was a whole bunch of stuff stacked up underneath it. So legitimate reason for not going in the attic. However, the green language pretty much infers he was there. And down here, we've got main attic, method of inspection, no access, not inspected, not inspected. Percent of attic unable to inspect, 75%. Ah. So this was a claim about rodents in the attic, and rodents like rampant, like everywhere, which was true. I went there and went up in the attic. It was disgusting. There was like no mistaking it. As soon as you open the hatch, oh, geez, So, we're trying to get out of it. And this makes it really hard because the inspector says, and of course, the plaintiff's attorney said, well, because of the, wording in the report, my client, reasonably assumed that everything in the attic was fine because the inspector said so. Well, of course, he's going to slant it toward his client. So this one ended up costing about $50,000 to get out of for the inspector's insurance company. It was, how am I going to, as an expert, what am I going to say? It says what it says in the report. It's internally inconsistent. Your report has got to be consistent internally. If you say, I went in here and I didn't go in over here, the effect is zero for you. So it's definitely always going to rule towards the client if it goes to trial or to arbitration, because it's unclear. You're the expert. Here's another one. Lack of information in the report. I think this guy was just trying to hit the basic minimum required information in the report. So we've got interior, wall, ceiling materials, drywall, floor surface, carpet tile, resilient vinyl, wood, glazing, double, single hung windows, hollow core doors, sliding glass. There you go. There's your report. Well, this was the interior page. This is the fireplace page. Apparently, I do not have a fireplace. So it's just a blank page. Not even the courtesy of this page intentionally left blank. Or there is no fireplace. It's just a blank page. So, just a little bit, I would not be satisfied reading this report. I would feel left out with this report. Maybe. No, this is the fireplace page. Well, just something, yeah. Or just say there was no fireplace. Not present. How's that? Just give me some, I should be able to picture the house somewhat by reading the report without even going there. I think this means no fireplace. What do you think? No fireplace? Probably. Hard to say. All right. Here's another one. Did you inspect the crawl space or not? So we got insulation floating in the pond in the crawl space. So for me, this would be a no bueno. I'm not going in. Was it inspected? We're happy to come back once it's dried out. Now, I can see this inspector is trying to be helpful. He can see some stuff in here. So he's saying the crawl space access was located in the basement, left front exterior, 10 to 12 inches of water. Because of the configuration, it was not possible to inspect all areas of the crawl space. I'd say it's not possible to inspect all the crawl space, And then insulation under the floor helps with energy. I think the insulation is in the water from the looks of it. The crawl space appeared to have adequate ventilation. I don't know, maybe, hard to say. So, this is another one of those, you're either pregnant or you're not. Did you go into it? No. So, not inspected because there's a foot of water, get it dried out, and we can come back and inspect it or have somebody else inspect it. I don't care. Okay? That's pretty nasty. But I understand they're trying to be helpful. I got it. I tried to be that way too. But don't throw yourself under the bus. Maybe just say, we were able to see some of the cast iron plumbing, which looked to be, worn and expected to require replacement in the near future. However, full inspection of the crawl space is necessary. Get it dried out, figure out the source of the water because that's a problem. Just the water being there is an issue. And have it corrected. And we're happy to come back. Our return fee is $350. There you go. We tell them what it costs to come back.
Right?
Yeah.
When you do when you go back, do you update your report or document it in other ways?
Okay. The question was, when I go back to the inspection to maybe look at something that was covered up or locked that I couldn't get into, do I update the report or do I create an addendum? You know, it varies. And I lean more toward updating the report with just a different color font. I'll use like a red font or something, that these were the, we did a reinspection of areas that were not accessible only. And the updates are in red or purple or, whatever font, or they're in brackets or italicized or, whatever you want to do. I used to write an addendum, but a lot of times that gets lost. If you do a whole report and just update it, they tend to keep that. So I was afraid that, like, these people didn't buy the house and it got handed to somebody else to look at, which happens, even though we say in the report, this report is for the use of the named client only and not to be relied by, for any purpose by anyone other than the named client. It still happens. So I'd prefer to have the report with the alterations in it. Just my preference. All right, too much information in this one. Now, the client doesn't really care about this kind of stuff. So we've got the visible floor structure consisted of a tongue and groove subfloor. Wow, fancy. Probably a 40s house. Supported by 2-inch by 10-inch wood joist spaced 16 inches on center. Damn, that's pretty specific. I hope they're all that, because if they find a 2x6, you're toast, man. There was an 8 by 12-inch built-up wood center beam and concrete walls and posts or piers for load-bearing support. No significant deficits detected in the visible portions of the floor structure. Wow. I would just say wood frame. I don't think, and if it was trusses, it was engineered wood. But this is all conventional wood framing, which is what I would call it. It's conventional wood framing. I don't think the client cares if it's 2x8s or 2x10 or, whatever. I don't think they care. And you know what? You better be right for the whole crawl space. There might be one 2x6, and if that client finds it, you're getting a letter. I've seen it. I've seen it happen. So, be careful. You don't have to identify the size of the joists or the size of the beam or the fact that it's built up, that it's, 2 or more plies. We don't have to identify that. I think even in your new standards, conventional wood framing, I think is fine because it could be different in some areas. Matter of fact, it usually is different. Here's a real pet peeve. There were a number of water stains on the ceilings of the home. These appeared to be old stains. Well, of course they're old. They happened before you got there. What do you mean by old? Last month? 10 years ago? What does that have to do with anything? There was no moisture present in these areas at the time of the inspection. Oh. Well, maybe it hasn't rained. Maybe the occupant stopped using the shower above that was leaking and caused the stains. You don't know. Damaged areas need repair. Well, okay, yeah. And there may be significant damage behind the drywall. Usually it's a lot worse. So don't do this. How do you know the cause of the stain has been repaired? Anybody? You can test it with a moisture meter. It's dry right now. So what? I don't care if you use okay, the question was, what if you use, there was no moisture present at the time of the inspection when tested with a calibrated moisture meter made by Protimeter and blah, blah, blah. I know, it doesn't matter because you don't know if the source of the leak has been repaired. And yeah, it might be wet when it rains, but it hasn't rained in a month and the area is dried out. So the moisture meter doesn't tell you anything other than it's dry right now. But you don't know if the leak has been corrected. So that's the key thing. Inquire with the seller regarding the source of the leak that caused these stains, and has it been successfully corrected? And of course, by the way, the stains need repair, and there may be hidden damage behind the drywall. If you ever repaired this kind of stuff, when you pull off the drywall, it's usually a lot worse than what you're seeing in the room. So there needs to be more commentary. You need to give the client some direction, because we don't know if it's been fixed. It might be dry because, like I said, they stopped using the shower above that was leaking, or toilet or whatever, or it only leaks when it rains. Yeah. Sure. Inquire with the occupant.
Have it on.
Question was inquire with the seller or inquire with the occupant. That's what I said.
Okay, so
Regarding the source of the leak that caused the stains, and has it been successfully repaired?
my normal thing to write in here is recommend further evaluation by a qualified contractor.
Sure, that's fine too.
Because the seller can
Yeah.
say anything.
Sure. Yeah, inquire with the seller regarding blah, 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 and or a qualified contractor. Sure, that all works. Just don't tell them that it's dry, because then they're going to think that, oh, it's been fixed. So, and that's not true. I don't know if it's been repaired. That's the key thing. That's the point of this slide.
I'm sorry. It still seems relevant to say that the area tested dry at the time of inspection. You
Sure.
are saying something that's true.
Yeah, but you need to follow up on it. And that's okay.
And right, and then follow up on it. Correct.
Right. And that's okay to say it tested with a calibrated moisture meter, it tested within, dry parameters. And, but you need to inquire with the occupant regarding, the source of the leak, and has it been successfully repaired, or contractor. It's not just dry now. Oh, it's dry. The client's going to think it's been fixed, and I don't know. And if you don't say anything, you just bought it. This is a big one, because we see this is a real common claim. All right. Now this was funny. This is a house I went back to with an inspector because of a claim. And we're walking through looking at the claims. And these are aluminum foil gutters on these French doors, sliding French doors that drain into casserole pans. And I looked at him, and he looked at me, and he said, "Oh, that was like that when I was here." I said, "I didn't see that in your report." He said, "Well, I thought it was so obvious, I didn't need to put it in the report." I said, "Well, they want like $5,000 for new doors." So I don't care how patent something is, which means, clearly visible. You want to put it in the report. He felt that it was so obvious that, how could the clients miss this? Well, it needs to be in your report. That's a good one. Yeah. That's a combination electric water meter. And this is one. So go ahead, Bob.
One thing to think about is we're actually starting to do a lot more remote inspections. So when you say patently obvious, they haven't ever been in the house. They bought it off of,
Right.
oh, that looks nice on Zillow.
Right. A
It's
lot
in
of
my
people,
price
they
range.
haven't even seen it
Yep.
personally,
So your
Right.
report really needs to
to be very specific. Yep, exactly. Which I don't know, I could never do that, but some people are doing, they're buying a house without ever being there. Interesting.
Is that hydroelectric?
That's hydroelectric. Yeah, that's a good one. You had another comment?
Yeah, just a quick, I've done an inspection by iPhone
Wow.
where, my client was on the other thing and he had somebody following me around with an iPhone. Yeah. I was happy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that works. All right. So this is the house where you drive up to it and the house is down there. And what happened was the occupant in the house calls up home inspector, says there's water spitting out of the electric meter. Like, right. Can you take a picture of that and send it to me? Okay. Gets the picture. Well, damn. You better call the local power company to fix it. So, and I said, you might want to send them a pic. You didn't need a plumber on this one. You might want to send them the picture because they might not believe you. Well, here's what happened. The trench, the trench for the utilities was, downhill towards the house. And the disturbed soil is going to be where the water flows when it's pouring rain. Well, on the riser right here, that riser below grade had a 90 sweep on it where they used direct burial cable and went into the sweep and didn't fill it with the duct seal, the stuff that you're supposed to use to fill the annular space around the wire. So the water running in the trench, because of the houses down here, streets up here, the water, it had enough force to come up and come out of the meter. So it was the utilities' fault. But, this is the kind of thing, I don't know as I would have believed I'm like, yeah, right. Take a picture. So you never know what's going to happen. Interesting stuff. Another report. Now this one, to illustrate the importance of defining your grading terms. Good, fair, poor. If you choose to use those terms for your criteria in the report, your grading in the report, your conventions, make sure you define them, because my interpretation of good might be a whole lot different than yours. So this is Florida, where the inspector, they typically look up the permit for the roof. So they date the installation of the roof. It's just custom and practice there. It's done all the time. So 2004, 7 to 8 years remaining life. Wow. All right, it sounds wrong already. And general condition is good. I'm like, okay, I'm looking at the report. There's a claim about the roof. Okay. So you got dimensional shingles, rolled roofing, membrane, rubberized. All righty. Wow, we got a whole lot of, we got like mod bit. We got, I don't know. And we got, comp shingles. And look at the shingles. Would you say good? How about that? Look at these patched shingles. This is the same report. Same report. Wait a minute. I'm like, wait a minute. Yep, it says good. Like, okay. Significantly worn shingles, patched shingles. 7 to 8 years? What'd you say? Wait a minute. How much remaining life? 7 to 8 years? Really? In Florida? Anywhere. Anyway, so, make sure you're paying attention and you use the appropriate term. This should have been a replace it now. This is beyond normal, beyond useful or expected useful life. Time for replacement for, I think, everything. It's kind of hard to replace just the 3-tab shingles when you got, you're trying to integrate it to all these other types of roofs. That's hard. They're going to want to replace everything. So pay attention to what you're doing. Make sure maybe it was a comment that was already in there or a canned one. I don't know, but something went wrong that day. Now this is a big one. I've probably worked on 24 claims where a home inspector said the house was on municipal sewer when it had a septic tank. It's a big one. And number one, you're not even required to report this. The method of sewage disposal, whether on-site or municipal, you're not required to report on this because it's all underground. It's poop underground. You don't have anything to do with that. But some inspectors still have to write this. for some reason. I don't know why. So if you absolutely have to write this in the report, say it was, sewage disposal was public per property profile online or per MLS. This is deemed to be reliable. However, you should verify with the local health department. Is that who monitors septic systems here? Okay. With local health department. Otherwise, if you just say public, you took it on the full baby. That means you're sure is what that means, which may not be true. And here, in one situation, we worked on a house where the inspector said it was on municipal sewer, and it was. However, building sewer exits the house, enters a septic tank under the driveway, exits the septic tank under the driveway, and connects to the lateral for the city sewer in the street. Well, I know you're not allowed to do that, but how the hell is the inspector going to know it's there? So eventually, the house was like 30 years like that. Clients purchased it, and about a year after they bought it, the tank filled up. And of course, it was major thing having this septic tank under the driveway, which was some special kind of material that was going to be like $50,000 to replace it. So it was a big deal. I had another one I worked on. Inspector said it was municipal and it was on a septic tank in the backyard. And you know when they found it? When they were digging for the swimming pool. That about that tall wheel on the backhoe, that fits real good in an old round steel top septic tank. The steel ones with the circular tops? You ever seen those? Wheel went right in it. It was nice. So you don't have to do that. So if you feel you must do it, make sure that you clarify the source of the information and recommend to the client that they verify. And you know what? Bottom line is, you don't know what's underground. You don't know. It could be anything. Here's Mr. Code violation. This whole report was full of this stuff. It was red font all over the place. GFCI protected, not present. Safety misspelled, once again. Recommendations. Garage outlets are not GFCI protected. They're required when this house was built. Wow, you did like code research on plan check on this house? What code was enforced in plan check? If buyers plan to have refrigerator in garage, then one outlet should not be on GFI, but needs to be labeled not GFI protected, blah, 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 blah. Year NEC, 1978 GFCI. Holy Jesus, really? And the whole report was Mr. Code inspection. We're home inspectors. We have absolutely no authority to enforce any code. We're not municipal inspectors. And, I don't think that's a home inspection. Plus, I don't know what code was enforced when the building was plan checked. So I'm not doing all this stuff. Now, I'll recommend GFCIs be installed in garages, near water, kitchens, outside, basements, laundry, and all current locations as an upgrade for optimal safety. What do you think? That works. I don't care if it's a code or not. So what? I'm not a code enforcement officer, but I'm going to recommend stuff as an upgrade for optimal safety. I've never gotten pushback for saying in a report, I recommend GFCI, like the kitchen counters, as required in modern buildings for, as an upgrade for optimal safety. There you go, all done. What do you think? That works, but we don't have to quote codes. And I would suggest that you don't do this because your client is now thinking that you're doing a full-blown code inspection on every component in that house. The furnace installation, everything, the water heater that was installed without a permit, just like the 5 before it. So, I don't think it's a good idea. There's no such category in a code book called grandfather. I've heard that one too. Is it grandfather? There's no such category in code. Now there is in zoning ordinances, typically it's called existing non-conforming, but that's municipal stuff. That's nothing to do with us. There's no such category as grandfather in a code book. I tell people there's no such category. Or in a home inspection, right? There's no, I'm telling you what should be corrected. I'm making recommendations. It's all recommendation.
There's no such thing as grandfathered for safety.
That's true. Yeah, and safety recommendations are just that. And we've learned a lot in 100 years that we can make houses safer. And that's why we use GFCIs and AFCIs prevent fires. That's why we have certain dimensions for handrails and stairways and all this stuff. So yeah, exactly. You'll get pushback on it often. Yeah, I know. Okay. This guy. This is a letter to this home inspector from an attorney. And I worked on this claim. And this is the letter from an attorney to this guy. This agreement states, you know, you have a 120-day inspection guarantee. And then he quoted language from the guy's website. He sucked it right off his website. You can see we've got the quotation marks, but this is the one I like. The website tells consumers, if we pass it, we protect it. What the heck does that mean? We protected with their assurance guarantee, and blank company stands behind every inspection 100%. This means you're protected from unexpected repairs for a full 120 days. Not even an asterisk going to some sort of exculpatory language. We back up our findings with real guarantees. We pay for repairs. What the heck? There's no asterisk. You know, you would expect there to be some sort of exculpatory language there, like, you know, only up to 500 or whatever, you know, something. And so the attorney says, and this is what they say, you know, we pay for repairs, we hold ourselves accountable. And the attorney's like, for a variety of reasons, nothing of the foregoing could be further from the truth, and so on. It was just, it was crazy. It was leaky siding, leaky balconies, you know, all kinds of stuff. It was a difficult one to get out of because of this language. And the home inspector had this 120-day assurance guarantee, and then would mix that with the word warranty. And he wasn't a licensed insurance company, which you have to be to provide a warranty. So just crazy, just make it. And then when he got this attorney's letter, he went to his website and pulled all the language down. So, you know, it's immediate, like, you know, oh, I'm guilty. So it was crazy. Yeah.
There is another association that was offering such a thing for a while.
Uh-huh.
That they would, you know, if something goes wrong, we'll buy the house back.
Right.
And that was a big push about 2 years ago.
Yep. Yeah, they've actually bought quite a few houses. They have. Yeah. They've bought quite a few houses. All right. Some more claims. So this is another type of language that can get you into trouble. Foundation system noted to be concrete block, blah, blah, blah. Foundation inspection limited to visible portion of foundation system. And representative probing around structure to check for presence of concrete footer. Don't do that, okay? Don't probe. So foundation inspection is limited to the visible portion of the foundation system, period. How do you select the place to probe? It's just going to be random, and you don't have to do that anyway. And even though you hit a footer, are you sure it's the proper depth and width? You don't know. Yeah, it could be a rock. I mean, who knows? Or maybe you're going to poke a hole in a water pipe. you know, so don't do that. Here's the comedian inspector. Isn't that lovely? This is the handwritten home inspection. Here's my favorite, you know, attic area as visible, didn't observe any water stains. Hay, as in hay for horses. This is good. But ham and egger patching has been attempted on tile, roof, silicone, some bituminous product, and blah, blah, blah. Ham and egger, what does that mean? Is that like unprofessional? Is that what that means? This was an actual home inspection report. See, it says so. It says so right there. That's a home inspection because it says so. Obviously, it didn't comply with the standards of practice. It was just somebody writing on a legal pad or whatever. This got sent to me about 10 years ago. I thought it was a joke. I called up the agent. I said, "Are you joshing me? You know, what is this?" He said, "I just wanted you to see it. This was the home inspection report we got on some property." Like, really? That's interesting. You know, we have in California, we have a practice act for home inspectors, which we're not licensed. However, it requires that we do certain things and how we report and so on. So the report has to be a certain format, and this doesn't comply. So it was interesting though. Here's a summary page. Different report. If you can't write where people can read it, you probably ought to use a computer. Some people are still handwriting reports. It's okay. It's written. It's okay. It complies with the standards. Here's another one. This was from a guy in Massachusetts, sent this to me. That was a home inspection report. Now, Massachusetts has licensing and very specific standards of practice. And this is far from it. This is a punch list that was sold as a home inspection. Here's the rest of it. GFI not grounded. Well, if it's pre-1965, that might be okay. Could be. Stove door springs, dishwasher, wood face, faucet, something rusted. So anyway, I think it's a punch list. Interesting. All right, so here's some other items. The code word is not allowed in your reports. Don't use the word code. We're not code enforcement officers. Okay, we're not municipal code enforcement officers. Everything in our report is a recommendation. We have no authority to enforce any code. And I don't want my client thinking that I did a code inspection of their entire house. So I don't say code. Now, I might say non-standard. I might say substandard. Unconventional is one of my favorites. Temporary repair works for like homeowner repair stuff. Some people say, oh, homeowner repair. Don't do that. Inadequate, temporary, not per minimum standard. But I don't say, does anybody say code in a report anymore? Okay, yeah, don't do that. That's not a good idea. Don't assign responsibility. I've seen reports, looks like a homeowner repair. Well, are you sure? Were you there? Well, you don't know who did the repair. It could have been, you know, an unprofessional person that didn't understand how to put things together. It could have been somebody licensed, you know, you don't know. What? Could be, or whatever trade. So I call it a temporary repair. Instead of homeowner repair or, you know, ham and egger repair or whatever the hell you want to call it. I don't call it DIY because you're assigning responsibility to the homeowner. You don't know for sure if they did it. Yeah.
Do you like or dislike the word non-professional work?
that.
That's
type of
fine. Non-professional, temporary.
Professional means they didn't get paid. You don't know if they hired someone that paid them.
Well, it still could be non-professional if they got paid or not. Ham and egger is the new favorite. We like ham and egger. Whoever, if one of those guys out there came up with that one, that's good. All right. Oh, this is one of my favorites. That's illegal. Really? So are you a municipal code enforcement officer? You got the badge and everything that, it gives you the authority to say something's illegal? And I see this in reports a lot, where inspectors will say that some addition is illegal. Yeah.
Did find a bag of crack cocaine at it one time, and I did say that was illegal.
Well, that's interesting. Okay, the comment was, we found a bag of crack cocaine in the attic, and the comment in the report was that's illegal. Now, how did you know, sir, that it was crack? That's my question. Because it all looks like white powder, doesn't it? I don't know. So that's funny. Yeah, yeah. Anyway, all right, we just got a couple more minutes. We'll move on. All right, so don't say that's illegal. Maybe not serviceable, unconventional, temporary, not standard, unsafe, whatever. Non-professional, what we came up with, ham and egger. If you want, no, I wouldn't say that. So remember that you have no authority to enforce codes. That's not everything we say in the report is a recommendation, and our client can act on that or not. I don't care. Whatever they choose to do or not do, that's up to them. Doesn't matter.
One
Bob.
comment I've heard from a couple of inspectors who are code certified by ICC
Mhm.
is now you're mixing responsibilities,
Absolutely.
because a home inspection is one thing, and as soon as you do code, we're in your world of insurance fraud or insurance something.
Well, I don't know about that. I'm ICC certified. I have been since 1989.
But you don't do that.
I'm
as
not
part of
doing a
your-
code inspection on a home inspection.
Right.
That's not a code inspection.
Yeah, because as soon as you do one and the other, you're liable for the whole thing as you.
Well,
brought
you
up.
could be, yeah. Now, we're specifically excluded from doing code inspections per the standards of practice. We're not required to do that. And I think, for what we get paid, you would be silly to do that, because it's a hell of a lot of work and research. Yeah.
Yeah, I find it important, at least in my reports, to identify when I don't see inspections by the state or county for appliances that are replaced that would require an inspection.
Yep.
I think that's important.
Yeah.
to
So-
note that.
Yeah, good point was just made about inspection tags or stickers from the county or municipality. And we're not required to report on any of that type of stuff, whether something requires a permit or not. Although I choose personally in my reports, I have a section that talks about alterations, additions, and so on to the property that may require a permit. Although it may not include all alterations to the property. And here's a list, of including but not limited to, like maybe I see an addition. Water heater's a big one. They're always installed without a permit, furnaces and so on. So I list them, but that's beyond standard. You don't have to do that. That's what you mean, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
I think it's important in flip houses that you have some sort of language indicating that there's been a considerable amount of heating, plumbing, electrical work done. And there's no permit posted.
Okay.
And
Yeah, that's a good point. So the comment was, if you see a significant, I make a comment in the report if there's any work that looks like it was done without, or I don't care if it looks like it was done with or without permit. I just say it's alterations that would have required a permit. Here's the list. Inquire with the seller or the local municipality. That's what I do. But you're not required to. That's beyond a normal home inspection. You're not required to do that. All right. Grandfathered, we talked about that already. It's not a category. Yes.
Just a
Question.
comment, that's usually a disclosure that you have to sign. when-
Yeah. Okay, the comment was that's usually a disclosure that you have to sign. What do they all say? Yes, 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 no, 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 done.
Specific, you had You done work in the home that should.
Oh, I know there's a specific question in the transfer disclosure statement that is there been work done without permit in the house? Usually people check don't know. That's the usual, but I know it's a question. I got it. All right. Now here's one I learned personally because I made a note in the report that there was a pool heater. The gas was turned off, so it was not tested. I recommend that you have it activated. So about 3 months later, the homeowner, my client calls me and says, well, it needed $800 worth of work. I said, yeah, well, the gas was off. And I said, I couldn't inspect it. Well, she said, well, you told me it needed to be activated. And I had that done and I had to pay $800 to get it fixed. I was like, I understand, but there's no way I could have known that because I couldn't activate it. The gas was off. So we kind of went roundabout. She wanted me to pay. I said, no, I'm not going to pay. But I did change my reports to say, like the furnace was turned off at the time of the inspection, recommended to be activated and its performance inspected prior to the close of the transaction. Note, repairs may be necessary. Because I don't want to get a phone call like that again. Yep. I got a phone call one time from a client. I got 5 minutes or a little bit more. I got a phone call one time from a client that said, I moved the lever on the thermostat to cool and the house isn't cooling. I said, well, give me a minute. I'll call you right back. Let me look up your report. I looked up the report. Well, it's because it didn't have air conditioning. It was close to the ocean and most of the homes there don't have cooling. So I called her back. I said, well, you don't have air conditioning. She said, but the lever says cool. And I pushed it to cool and it's not getting cool. I said, that's because you don't have cooling. She said, but the lever is on. Go back and forth. Well, pretty much who's on first, kind of thing. I said, well, I'm not buying air conditioning. But I did change my reporting method now. Even though air conditioning is not a requirement in a house, it's now seems to be an expectation that the house have cooling, even if you live on the beach, where it never gets above like 75. So I now put in the report a comment, air conditioning, none installed. So it's clear to the client that you don't have any, or at least I can point to it when I get the call about, I put the lever to cool, and it's not cooling. So, you learn some of this stuff because of phone calls that you get. All right, these are just explaining issues. We'll buzz through this quick.
Back
don't
to
need to
your
see that.
air conditioning.
Yes.
It's 32 degrees outside at the moment. We can't test air conditioning.
Well, right. But
How-
this was
how-
none installed at all.
Right. But what comment do you put in saying the outside temperature was below the safe something or other, air conditioning could not be tested?
That's it.
Because they're going to say,
Inquire with the seller regarding performance during hot weather.
okay, that works.
Yeah, that's what I say. And I
You
use,
can't test it for the next 3 months.
right, I can't test it. All right. Another one is get the client to come to the inspection. Show them stuff. Take their face. See, point at stuff. Yeah.
Going back to the AC, not being able to activate that, there has been previously an addendum for realtors to use called an AC addendum. It gives the buyer the right on the first warm days of spring to activate the system and to evaluate the performance of the system. The problem is that sometimes it requires an escrow of money in case there's an issue.
Got it.
So attorneys don't like it. Nobody likes it, but there is, again, I do
Cool.
recommend that.
I haven't seen that. That's a good
Yeah,
point.
AC addendum.
Cool. Interesting. All right. Move on. We're almost done. Couple of minutes, guys. Choose your words carefully. Also, couple of things I've learned on inspections. Never, ever, 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 ever leave the room while operating a plumbing fixture. Ever. I've also learned never leave your ladder upright and unattended. You may return to it and there's a 5-year-old child climb to the top of it. Never leave it unattended, upright. Never leave the kitchen while testing appliances, because you'll forget you left the oven on, or the dishwasher will leak on the floor. Well, yeah, we all know that one, hopefully.
Question about ladders. I climb a ladder, get on a roof, and I'm walking around. I'm leaving it unattended.
Well, you can usually hear it if somebody's walking on it. We all know the squeak of our ladder. That's certainly an exception. You don't want to pull it up onto the roof while you're up there. But, you know, leaving the ladder and then walking around and doing the whole exterior for 45 minutes and coming back, you might arrive at a surprise. Not that that ever happened to me. Yeah. Well, it can blow over too, yeah. Don't comment on stuff that's out of scope, like elevators. Recommend an elevator technician do that inspection. Don't say you do it. Don't say leaks are old. The stains, old stains. Well, yeah, because it happened before you got there, but you don't know if it's been corrected. Don't miss obvious stuff, like knob and tube wiring, FPE, Zinsco, Challenger panels, you know, polybutylene, this kind of stuff. Connecticut's got issues with aggregate in concrete that weakens foundations. So a lot of times there's local stuff that can be problematic too. Don't miss stuff like this. Well, you know, the inspector gets a complaint. I go back and look at it. I'm like, it's kind of hard to miss that one, you know? So some of this stuff's difficult to miss. Knob and tube wiring, always a problem. Is it going to be insurable, that house? Probably not. So make sure you're identifying it. I also check to make sure it's in service. So I'll hold the fluke with the light, you know, right next to it and take the picture to prove that it's energized. Missing kickouts. And that's a good location. Let's put the window trim right there too. Just kind of a dumb location. Question, comments?
Do you have a canned statement for PEX plumbing that has been in the news regarding?
Yeah, the different manufacturers that
Yeah.
have problems. Yeah, I do.
And what do you typically say when you encounter that?
Recommend a
Um,
plumber.
What
That
about the class
it's
action
known to be
lawsuits?
problematic. I'll provide, if it's like Kitech or something, I'll
Right.
provide the link to the class action in the report.
Yeah, a lot of people don't even know about that. A lot of plumbers
Kitech.
don't know about.
KITEC. Well, also the QPEX, the dezinkification of the fittings
Education.
is another one.
A lot of people don't know anything about that.
Probably should study up on it. Next time I come out, we'll talk about plumbing. Yes, Bob?
Just a quickie on knob and tube.
Yeah.
Just because you can find knob and tube that doesn't appear to be
It still
energized.
could be in the walls.
Yep.
Yes,
So if I see knob and tube.
still
have
could
it
be in the
inspected.
walls.
It still
Yeah.
can be in the walls.
And you know what? If you see the push button switches, it's definitely in the
Knob and tube.
walls. Yeah, definitely. Guys, thanks for having me out. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. I'm Alec with the Crackman Foundation Repair. I specialize in poured concrete foundations. As the name implies, crack injection of poured concrete foundation walls. I can either inject with epoxy or urethane. 95% of the injections are urethane nowadays because it stops the water, remains flexible. Life of structure warranty against it ever leaking again. The warranty is also fully transferable. I also inject around water line penetrations, sewer line penetrations. Same warranty applies to that, to stop water intrusion. I do carbon fiber reinforcement as necessary. Also carbon fiber staple. And as far as cinder block, I can repoint cinder block if it comes up, if it's an issue. And also exterior cosmetic repairs in concrete, brick, and block. Any questions? Yes, free estimates from photos. If it's something crazy, and I'm in the area, I can stop in and take a look at it, but about 95% of them are over the phone or, you know, with texted photos, free estimates.